What's up, guys? It's Liam and Caleb here, and recently in our English class, we just had to read the book by John Green called Looking for Alaska. And the question was posed to us, does Looking for Alaska belong in our classroom? Or better yet, how does Looking for Alaska compare to classics?
Okay, and so the way we went about kind of deciding how we felt about this was basing our thought off wonderful wise words of our fair Lady Stooks. A classic is a book that hasn't finished saying what it has to say. And
So Liam, who gets to decide what a classic is? Is there like just some old wrinkly guy sitting in a room somewhere with books like this and being like, this one doesn't make the cut, can't read it?
I don't think it's quite like that. I really like what Stooks says about this, because I feel like it can be applied to a book, and it's a really easy test of, is it a classic, or could it be a classic, right? So if we apply this thinking to something like To Kill a Mockingbird, it touches on this unfortunate staple of American society that is racism, and so it talks about and kind of looks at that in an interesting and important way that is still extremely relevant in our current time period. And although that is sad, it is true.
So what you're saying is a classic is like a book that hasn't finished what it's saying, and even though it may have been written 100, 200 years ago, it can still apply to you and me, like, right now.
Definitely. And that can also be seen in something like Romeo and Juliet, which has had a major impact on entertainment for hundreds of years. Since it was created, it's famous throughout Western culture, and is kind of has influenced the entire genre of books and movies and stories.
So on that note, what does Looking for Alaska have to say, and is it like a classic, its message?
Well, I'd argue yes, it is, Caleb. It asks this question that kind of pulls on the strings of, I think, every single person. It asks, well, through John Green asks the question, what is the end, if any, to our suffering? Is there something, or what is there something that can release us from the inevitability of pain? And like, what is it? How is it? And so it asks this question kind of repeatedly through the relationship the main character has with this character Alaska, and when finally Pudge, the main character, is left to answer this, John Green kind of poses what could be an answer: forgiveness. And so he kind of states that through forgiveness, through forgiving ourselves, and through forgiving others who've wronged us, and being forgiven, that we can heal, and that we will, because we're never truly going to be broken. And so even if you disagree with the theme, with that answer, it still poses this kind of age-old question that really touches in the hearts of everybody. And
so how does this book then pair with classics like To Kill a Mockingbird and, Romeo and Juliet, like the original love story? And the answer to that is that this year, through our English classes, we have been focusing on the idea of coming of age. And even though parents and teens alike may not like the idea of coming to age, it's something that's going to happen. And it's going to come through sex, drugs, growing up and facing these harsh realities that the world is. And a lot of pushback that Looking for Alaska is getting is that there's a sex scene. And even though that it may not be emotional, or they may not even really love each other, it's still this idea of coming of age and how do we deal with it.
Yeah, so paired with following the theme of this year. What does it mean to come of age? What does it involve? You know, pairing that with kind of the question of like suffering and where does it end, or if does it end? I think it definitely does compare. It definitely can be held up to a book like To Kill a Mockingbird, because
even though that this book has not gone through the test of time yet, it still shows those age-old questions of coming to age, forgiveness. And with that, it does belong in our English classrooms and not just on a shelf somewhere.
Agreed.